Cool. So let's keep going with our class about materials. Let me open a parenthesis here. If you're having any problem about performance, let's suppose Unreal 5 is running with low FPS or the performance isn't good. Well, skip this class and go to the manage class, okay, and optimization. And after you optimize, you can get back here and you can get do the material classes. But only do that if you're with performance problems, okay? Or if your FPS is low, okay, or you have some problem with your GPU, okay? But if you don't have any problem, if it's going all right, let's keep going here, okay? So let's talk now about materials. Okay, to talk about materials, let's open our level. Piano house. I'm going to open the references as well. And actually we can get started with this image here. Let me find it, because there are a few materials to create and they are more simple, I guess. I think that's the one. Okay, the 12. We're gonna use the camera 12 and this image, okay, and create the materials. Great, we are here. Let's find our camera 12. Camera 12. Let's do this. If you're using some software to add the references, it's up to you, okay? I'm using this method here because not everyone knows the other softwares to use the references and everything. So, okay, let's keep going. Let me try to make it similar. Okay. Yeah, great. Let's try to work like that. This way. Cool. Let's get started creating this material, this chrome material. We're gonna get started creating simple materials, and after we're gonna make these materials more sophisticated, okay? Let me bring here the focus here. It's better. Yeah, that's it. It's better. Yeah, cool. Let me put the FPS here or not. Cool. Nice. So let's create the materials. Control plus space. Let's go to the folder materials. Let's create a new folder. So we're gonna be more organized, and we're gonna replace the materials. We're not gonna use the materials that came from 3ds Max. Maybe some textures, but materials we're gonna create from the zero, from the beginning. Okay, let's do it again. Okay, let me see. I can click with the right button, material, or I can add a material. Okay, so it's gonna add in the folder. Let's call it this material. Let's delete this and let's put in the paste material. Right button, new folder, materials. Let's get inside this folder, right button or add materials. Let's call then m underline metal simple. Okay, this is a simple metal and we're gonna make a sophisticated metal. So let's get started with this simple metal. Metal underline simple. Yeah. Let's get started with this material. Look at this. You saw that I put the M. Okay, Unreal has a default for the names For example, you noticed that when we created blocks in assets, we used SM static mesh, which means static mesh underline and the name of the object. So all the time that we see SM, we know that it's a static mesh. And all the time we see M, we understand it's a metal, okay? So there is a convention inside Unreal for the names of the things, okay? SM static mesh. Materials, I'm gonna use M, capital M, okay? If I take this file and send to another person to keep the job, to keep going, he will understand that M is a material. If I only has a M, I know it's a material master. It's a master material, which means that it's the mother of the materials related to them. You will see in this material class that we will create an instance, okay? And we will talk about it, and it's gonna be MI, which means material instance. What is that? Well, instance of material, it's like a material that came from master that doesn't have some calculation that is being done here. It's a lighter material for Unreal to process. The same way we have instance in the geometries, like when I create an instantiated copy, I'm going to use less resources of my GPU to calculate this geometry, and with the materials that works in the same way. If I create a material that is instanced, for example, right button, materials instance, I'm gonna create materials that are gonna be lighter to process, and that's gonna be easier to configure. You're gonna realize that create materials in Unreal is a little bit different than to create materials in 3ds Max. Because in Max, we basically have the cover of this material. For example, in diffuse, we have the little box to add textures of diffuse. In opacity, we have a little box to add opacity. In Unreal, we have to build this box. It's like we have to build the material, the skin, the interface, the parameters since the beginning, you know? So Max, they have these things to help us, but Unreal doesn't have. So here in Unreal, we have to create the little boxes and the places and the parameters that I'm going to use, and where we're gonna have these parameters. So we create this material since the beginning, okay? And where to put the parameters, okay? Cool. And where do we create this? We create on master. This way, master will be a material where we're gonna create the structure of the material, and the instance will be the material where we're gonna add the values. It's like here I create this structure of the material in Max, and here I add the textures, the values, the rangers. Okay, so you're gonna realize that it is more invited to control the parameters in instance, and it's more complicated to put the parameters in Max. Okay, it's lighter to use the materials that are instanced so that Unreal can process. Your GPU is gonna do that better. However, you need master to create these parameters. So we're gonna call this material of M because we already know that it's the master. So we already understood that in master, we're gonna create the parameters, add the regulations, the slots, okay? So this is the master, the mother that was created since the beginning, okay? And in the MI, the instance of the material, is where I'm going to type the parameters, the textures. Using this nomenclature, it's going to be easier for you and for other artists to keep going with the project, because he will know that, oh, okay, this is the instance of the material, so I'm going to add the parameters, the textures, okay? And if I need more features, the master is here. So M for master and MI for material instance. Let's delete this for a while and we're going to get back here after. Let's create our master, okay? Cool. Let me maximize. All right. Let me expand this. Okay, cool. So what do I have here? I have a panel for the creation of materials. Basically, it's another software inside Unreal. You can open asset, save all. You can do a lot of things here. You can edit. You can add a window or take it off. You have tools, okay, as in Unreal. So up here you have the main menu. Down here you have the tabs of the materials that you're gonna create, okay, as in Google Chrome and as in the levels that we saw. You have some more buttons here, how to save, how to access some things. All right, we're gonna talk about then in the during the process, okay? Here you can adjust and modify how you see your material. For example, we are seeing as a perspective. We can see from another view. Or for example, like delete or without sun, or like this. You know, you can choose the way that you want to see this. For example, the background, the statics. It's cool because this way I will identify if there is an error, okay, if there is something that is not working well, if the process of the creation of this material are too long, okay. So working with Unreal Engine, it is thinking about engine of games. You have to optimize everything. The less parameters that you put, the less adjustments that you do, the less slots that you have to process, more fluid is gonna be your game, your project. Because inside Unreal, everything is done with calculation. If you have a big project, it's gonna calculate the geometry, the material, master materials, the optimization and everything. In the final, there will be a lot of calculation at the same time, and that's going to impact directly in your GPU. So we have to always think about doing things in an optimized way with less slots and a lot of things. All right. And this is a huge benefit of creating materials in Unreal. Remember in 3ds Max that we changed all the materials to standard. Why did we do that? Because if we brought here the materials like Corona, texture of these slots, here we would have a lot of parameters, okay? A lot of adjustments and everything. We're gonna talk more about it, and this would make the speed of calculation really slow, you know. So it's way better that we create a material here from the zero, from the beginning, because we're gonna create this material already optimized, okay, with less parameters, you know. And we're gonna get the same result that we would get with Corona, okay, or V-Ray. So it's interesting to leave the statistics here, okay. If we want to see like a cylindrical sphere or some other type of shapes. Depending on the type of the material that you're creating, it's good to change this. Okay, I'm gonna leave like a sphere. What we have here, well, we have a main node. All material have this, okay, has this. It's like it determines the type of the material that you're gonna do. Here is where you're gonna put the parameters of your material. Based on this, you have the type of material that you want. For example, if I click here and go to the left side, we have some parameters, but we're not gonna talk about them now. But I have other parameters down here. Material, okay? Here we have, for example, material domain. We can select the type of domain. Like, is it a type of material like a surface? We have some options here, you know, opaque, or these other options here. All these options here. Volume, post-process, okay? So it's a material of the type surface. We're gonna use that a lot, all right? What is the blend mode of this material? Is it a masked material of the type masked, where I'm gonna be able to add an opacity mask, for example, where I'm gonna see black and white, where the black I see and the white is transparent? Is it a material of the type translucent, as glass, for example? And if you realize, as you change here, it activates or disables parameters, okay? For example, if you select opaque here, you can determine the base color and all these options here, like the specular, roughness, okay, the normal, that in 3ds Max would use the bump. If you change to masked, for example, you see that it keeps these parameters here, but it activates, for example, the opacity mask, all right? The black and white. We're gonna learn how to create that as well. If you change, for example, to translucent, it gives you other parameters, okay? So if it's emissive or not, okay? It's like a V-Ray material, you know? And the opacity here in the scale of 0 until 1. 0 is black, there is no opacity, and 1 is white, like 100% opacity, okay? Some other options here, all right? If it's a additive type, or some other options here. So you can select the type, the blend mode that you want, okay? Meanwhile, let's create an opaque material, okay? Because you want to build, for example, the chrome of this reference. And we know that the chrome material is a metallic material. This way, I cannot use, for example, a material of the type additive, because I don't have the parameter of the metallic, all right, and roughness. So I cannot create this metallic material. I cannot, for example, create material translucent, because I don't have these two options, these two parameters here, okay? The roughness and the second one, the metallic. After you're gonna see that, for example, translucent materials, after we're gonna be able to add these parameters here to adjust, okay? But basically, only the translucent material, we don't have access to these parameters here, okay? So it doesn't help you to create a material, a metallic material. The blend mode, it's interesting that we create opaque, masked, translucent, additive. Well, opaque. Opaque is it's more simple. It gives us a surface, okay? You're gonna see that I'm always going to use the surface. Like 99% of these materials, we're gonna use the surface, okay? A little bit this one, the decal and like function, a little bit, but most of the time surface, okay? So, all right, we already know that we're gonna create a surface. Let's see, we're gonna use opaque because opaque, we have the base color, the color of this material, metallic or not, you know, specular, if there is a specular or not, like the level and the level of roughness, okay? So this material of opaque, of the type opaque, is enough to create a lot of different materials, okay? Specifically our metal material. The shading mode, if it's a lit, default lit, we have some options here, or subsurface, okay? If I turn off the lights inside the material, if I can do that, clear code, we have a lot of options here, okay? Like this, to use in vegetations, if I have a grass, cloth, or eye, okay? So here you can notice that you need to tell Unreal basically everything about your material. What's the domain? Like surface or volume, you have to say that. What is the blade mode? Is it opaque, masked, translucent, modulate? So you have to say that to Unreal, okay? Because these parameters are enough for us. Okay, so how is the model of this shading? Is it close, hair, eye, you know? No, it's the default lit, okay? Yeah, the default. It's it always going to be like that for you, okay? You will only change it if you want to create another type of material, of shade. Okay, so how is this material? How do you want this to be created? In one side or two-sided? Outside and inside. This material is going to be seen just from the out part, or for the normal. In this case, for example, this material, we just see from the outside. It's different from a vegetation, okay? That we have to see in both sides. So in our side, we don't need that. Use material attributes. We're not going to use it because it's a little more complicated, okay? We're going to talk about it after, okay? In some other class. Mainly when we work with this guy here, okay? World position offset. When we, for example, work on our material, the wind movement, okay? This one, cast hay traced shadows. Yeah, by default, yeah. And you have a lot of different options here, okay? And all of them that are configured by default are cool. You don't need to change anything here. Only if you have to create a specific thing, a really specific thing. But these parameters here are okay. Maybe during the process of this course, we can use something here, maybe. But basically, what we have here until here, it's enough, okay, to create materials, really realistic materials. So let's review this. I want to create a material. You will see that it's not hard, okay? Control plus space. I want to create a material. Add, material here, right button, materials. What's the name? It's a master, right? It's the first material that I'm creating. Right button, material, master, aim, underline, metal, simple. It's the master. Access this. I'm here. What do I have to do? Select this, my node. All right. That is where I'm gonna add the nodes, the parameters, and define the type of material, like a surface or like function, or all of these options here. What is the blend mode? Opaque or translucent, or all of this. Okay. How is the shade of this module? Default or like all of this? You have all these options here, as you already know. Okay. This material, I want to see the two sides, like the outside or inside, or just one side. Okay, you can choose it. All right. So this is the first step to create the material. So I'm gonna finish this class so that it's not gonna be that long, and we're gonna get back here. Okay. So yeah, see you.